real estate professionals out there, lenders and real estate agents and whatever, who are saying that, hey, you should really use this tracker to track your daily actions, and yet it's not happening. Hey, welcome back, everyone. As you know, one of the main purposes of this channel is to help real estate agents grow both personally and professionally. And so today I wanted to have Nick Downey, who is on our team, come on and talk a little bit more about the Greatness Tracker and how he's leveraged it to not only make improvements in your business, but also in your life, and how tracking what we're doing can really help us in our journey so that we can grow. And this is true for real estate agents, whether you're a realtor or really any other profession. It's about tracking what we're doing so that we can get the kind of results that we're actually looking to create. So the other day, Nick and I were talking, and I just happened to be recording this on a Zoom call. And so we were talking about the Greatness Tracker. So I just want to play a quick clip from that conversation, and then we'll come right back.
The other day I was walking in to meet with Steve for our accountability, and I had this thought of somebody asking me, man, your business changed. What have you been doing? Right? Because that's the thing, right? And I just, it's like this one piece of paper is all I'm doing. That's
Awesome.
it. That's it. It's not rocket science. And I made this mine, dude. If you look at this shit, it's hours of sleep, 3 gratitudes, affirmations, meditations, inspiration, 30 minutes of reading, exercise, office by 10, 2 CRM updates, 2 personal notes, 10 phone calls, face-to-face. It's I've made this life. This is what is the most important shit to me.
Yeah.
And if I can't fucking commit to this, then what am I doing?
So one thing that I love about that video is, and immediately afterwards, I'm like, we got to shoot a video on this. You know, what I loved about it was the authenticity of the whole thing. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is working. It's making sense. Why all of a sudden did you decide to really start, hammering in on the Greatness Tracker? What changed?
Well, I don't know that anything changed. I think it's just, I had known of the Greatness Tracker. I had created my version of the Greatness Tracker. But I mean, the real change is just the commitment to it. I knew that I had built my best day in this tracker, and if I could just track the action steps that I was taking each day, then I would feel a greater sense of accomplishment, a greater sense of fulfillment, a greater sense of getting stuff done. So it wasn't, like I said, I've been doing it for a while, but it was just a matter of really committing to it, and then committing to it for really a long period of time. I mean, I've been doing it now for 6 weeks now, and the momentum that it's created in my business, in my life, in my, just my timing at the gym, and just all of the different personal pieces, it hits on all of those.
So what would you say is your biggest, I don't know if takeaway is the right word, but what's the biggest, asset that's been created for you, or your biggest benefit of following this? What is it that makes you go this? It's this thing that's making the big difference,
Because it's the blueprint. It's literally all of the actionable steps that you have to take responsibility for to change the outcome of what you want out of your life in real estate, in every facet. So, understanding that it's about the phone calls, it's about the face-to-faces, it's about the breaking breads, it's about the events. It's one thing to know about it, but realize that every week I'm going to push myself to do a little bit better than I did last week. Every week I'm going to push myself to make the 3 or 4 more phone calls, do the 110%, push yourself to go to those events that you've RSVP'd to, but now it's the day of the event and you're like, oh shit, it's snowing and I don't want to do it, right? So just really being intentional of saying, this is what is going to create my best life. Now it's up to me to just take the action steps and do the work.
But so back to that first question. I mean, what changed, right? Because there's probably some people watching this video who's like, okay, I get it. The Greatness Tracker is supposed to help. There's tons of real estate professionals out there, lenders and real estate agents and whatever, who are saying that, hey, you should really use this tracker to track your daily actions, and yet it's not happening. So what was the change in mentality, or what shifted your mindset to say, I'm going to start doing this so that you could actually get the results and see what would come of it?
Yeah, well, Psy was a big weekend. It was fun. That was eye-opening on a couple of different accords. I had been doing the greatness tracker up to that because I had committed myself to these actionable steps that I believe is going to lead me to my most fulfilled life and my most successful life. So I had been building this for maybe a year, and then just really committing to it and saying, okay, well, if I'm living at 40% and I'm doing the greatness tracker at 40% and I'm getting 40% return, then we gotta crank up the numbers, right? We gotta crank up the amount of activity, we gotta crank up the energy, and all of that has come back tenfold,
Right. So how? Let's jump on that for just a second. How did you actually narrow it down? Because I think one of the problems, and maybe there's somebody watching this can relate to this, but I've got 1,000 things on there and I can't possibly do all of them. So at some point it's required to whittle it down.
Yeah.
How do you whittle it down? And at what point did you say, okay, now I'm committing to what I'm doing, right? So you're not constantly changing it, but you're committed to sticking with it for a while. What does that process look like?
So that process for me was really just making it my own, The greatness tracker has all of the pieces from the business standpoint, but I was looking for something to hold me accountable for getting to the gym, spending time with the family, getting home on time. So I think the fact that I built it to make it serve me and the highest version of what I'm trying to do, along with all of the business pieces that you could go to any training, any coaching, and they say you need to make phone calls, you need to do face-to-faces, you need to be in front of your sphere, you need to be, all of these things. Well, this is a piece of paper, one 8 by 11 piece of paper,
our whole life
that
summarized.
Changes every piece of it. But it's just like, I know when I wake up in the morning what I'm supposed to be doing. I know if I get off track, when I go right back to that piece of paper, it's like, here's where my blueprint is of what I'm trying to accomplish. All I have to do is knock off the tasks.
Right, absolutely. And that's exactly what it did for me in my business, right? So, if you're watching this and you're saying, okay, I feel like maybe I should do a greatness tracker, I don't know, whatever. Here's two people right here who are producing, who have had the exact same result. I remember the first time I saw it and I just started playing around with it and I was like, oh man, this was really organized my thoughts. I get it now. I just need to do this and this and this and this and this consistently and see what happens. And lo and behold, that's when my business really started to grow.
Well, and I will say one thing, like I was holding myself to a standard of thinking that I had to complete it 100% every time. So then I was getting kind of frustrated in the fact that I wasn't doing all the work. Now I've created it to the lifestyle that I want. So every bit of energy and effort I put into it is trackable, and then the next week it's like, okay, I did it to this level last week, let's push ourselves a little bit more to get a little bit more out of this life.
Well, and I think an important thing to note on that is that there has to be some kind of like stopping point where we're not manipulating it anymore. You know what I mean? For me, it's the beginning of the year, so I try to set it by December 31st. January 1st, I'm on it. And I'm going to run through it for at least 3 or 4 months exactly as it is and see what kind of results I get. And then I can think about maybe making some modifications to it. But I think it's really important to note that if we're constantly changing it, we never get consistent results. It's just, you're not really testing anything.
Right.
Right.
The other piece that I think is a power piece is if you can bring a partner in, like an accountability person, somebody that is building it to their best life as well, but is going to support you and to hold you accountable and track your numbers with you, because it's easy to let a day go by, let 2 days go by, oh, I didn't track for this week, and move on. But if you've got that accountability piece, if you've got a gym partner, you're going to show up, you're going to track your numbers. So I think that's the other piece of why not only the greatness tracker has made a big difference, but also having people in my world that want me to fulfill what I've set out to do.
Yeah, accountability is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. What would you recommend to somebody who's watching this video, they're thinking about putting together a greatness tracker? What would you recommend for them, maybe just to get the ball rolling or get started?
I would recommend printing 5 greatness trackers. And just the basic
basics.
one, the basics. I would recommend sitting down with somebody that can explain to you what it is,
what the basics
you're
are.
tracking. Yeah, what are the phone calls? What are the face-to-faces? What's a break bread? Understanding those pieces of it. I think that would be number one. Again, like you said, playing with it, right? Because if you're not making any phone calls, then 10 phone calls for 6 days is a daunting task, right? But if you are tracking the 3 or 4 phone calls and the 3 or 4 phone calls and the 3 or 4 phone calls for 6 or 7 days, then at the end of that week, you're going to be able to say, oh, well, I made 28 phone calls and last week I couldn't tell you what I made.
Right.
So next week I'm going to make 38 phone calls, and you can set yourself like a little challenge week over week.
So it's just getting started. Just put some basics onto a piece of paper.
Yep.
Right? Phone calls, one-to-ones, personal notes, CMAs, just the basics, right?
Yep.
And make sure you have a mentor, somebody to help you figure out what those things are, and just get started, and then improve every single week. I think that's great advice, and then let that go for a little while, let it simmer for a little while, revisit it, and then you can change it and then try again, right?
Yeah, I think it's your database and your community is going to be ever changing, and what you've got to do to be relevant and provide value to them is going to be ever changing. So you want to be adaptable, but you've got to be good at the basics. You got to be good at the basics.
Absolutely. So what is next for you? Like now you've been utilizing this for a little while. You're seeing some great results. So what's next?
I'm pushing for a perfect week. I've been doing this for 6-7 weeks. I'm holding myself very accountable. I'm going in every night, writing down with my phone log who I've called that day if I haven't caught them. So I'm being very, very meticulous in trying to track these things. And a perfect week, it's not perfection, but I want to be able to go in and say, I crushed this week. So I'm working up towards that, and I'm getting closer.
Right on, man. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. And,
Absolutely.
it kind of came out of nowhere. I'm just like, I really like what you just said. We can help other people with that. And once again, that's the whole point of this channel, So if maybe you're a realtor or even just a business owner and you're trying to, figure out how to navigate this whole entrepreneurial journey, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notified when new videos come up, because that's what we're all about, is just providing value and helping you become more successful personally and professionally.
And I would say the Greatness Tracker works for anybody in sales, hands down anybody in sales, anybody that is responsible for a community or a network or keeping in contact with people that bring a network or bring a value together. So
absolutely.
Anybody where you're trying to maximize your impact on other people, it's a great way to track your results.
Absolutely. Right on. Well, thanks, Nick. I appreciate you being on.
My pleasure.
Thank you guys for watching. Here's to your journey in our world, my friend. Make it a fantastic day, and we will see you soon.